This is what my leg looks like now, and my foot. Mm. Mm. This is what my foot looks like. This is after an IV infusion yesterday about, I don't know, about 5 o'clock, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, p.m. And today is 9:30:24, and I'm still in room 747. Anyways, this is the antibiotic that they gave me. Mm. And this is what they put in me before as a flush for the line. Dextrose, that is sugar. Another name for sugar, type of sugar, anyways. So, anyways, that was a 30-minute run to get that IV infusion. And they told me that it's supposed to be good for 2 weeks. And then they tried to tell me that I won't need my Bactrim DS anymore. So what they're trying to do is trying to get me on hospice to where to where when I go back on hospice, they won't give me any kind of a antibiotic because hospice is into life services, and they're going to use that excuse. But I'm not trying to die anymore. The thing is, they made me so mad here at the hospital how they done me. The fact that they are trying to help hospice kill me and trying to get away with it. And I had to raise a walleye fit in order to just get that IV infusion and to get a stay of discharge, because whenever they said I was going to be discharged on Friday, I filed for an appeal. Well, that appeal, it took 24 hours. So Saturday, they come back saying that the appeal was denied and that I had to get out on the 28th or 29th. I had to be out on the 29th at noon. So the 29th at noon, I raised a walleye pit explaining to everybody on this floor the truth of the matter. And this is the truth of the matter to everybody who hears this. Jesus is the truth. This is the simplest thing in the Bible, and it's all you need to know about the Bible. As far as him dying for your sins, that's only a way for you to understand what he means to you. The fact that he died on the cross for our sins is not where it ended for us. Where it ends for us is our death. I don't understand how any Christian that cares about their self or their soul could ever end it with his death whenever he came back and rose from the grave. So Jesus is not dead. Not to mention, after he came back, he said when he goes to his Father that this time, that he's going to send his Comforter, his Spirit, and pour it out upon the whole world so that everybody has the opportunity to be guided in truth. Thing is, if you follow the truth about every situation in your life, you have Jesus in your heart. You can't help it. But if you lie like a dog, and it's funny, everybody refers to it commonly, instinctively, as lying like a dog. How is it that anybody could equate a lie to a dog when a dog don't lie? Anyways, the dog of the human spirit is what it's referring to. The animal in us. And people don't understand these simple truths because they can't fit the truth in what they're hearing because they've been educated. Knowledge makes us vessels for spirits that are not of us. As a matter of fact, good or evil. If you notice, there's as many good spirits as there are bad spirits. There's as many good traits as there are bad traits, as far as I'm aware. I haven't done the math, so I'm not exactly sure. But I suspect that that's the case. Anyways, with that being said, and the spiritual equating to my life, this is how I know the truth whenever it's presented to me behind the scenes of what's going on. Because every action, this simple truth, which is in the Bible, it's in the Bible in a different way. But in science, and this is where I learned it, in the classroom, our classrooms as a kid, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I learned that in science. The most successful scientist in the world ever that we know was Einstein, and he was a God fearing person. Look it up, research it. He could not take God out of the equation because science, to him, proved God. Imagine that. And when you look for the truth with the understanding that there is a God and he will guide you into all truth, you can't help but come up with the same conclusion. If people would take all the lies off their eyes and their hearts, they would see the world for exactly the way it is. Even the people standing in front of them, they would hear the lies. But because we have an obligation to our fellow man to give them every opportunity to be to come to the truth and to know the truth for themselves, then we have to treat them as we would ourselves. This is why there's only two commandments. And if you put God first, then look at man and your social and economic condition, you can't help but come to the same conclusion I have. These are truths that are self evident. It's how the Constitution was created, these self evident truths that man has an unalienable right, that they have unalienable rights. That means that no person can tread on them because they're God given. And anything that ties us to God, if we're married to God first, to the truth first, because God is the truth, he has become the truth in flesh for us to know the truth. And it's his life and the power he wielded while he was on this earth that leads us into all truth. Everybody talks about his death as that being his most important thing to us. No. Thing is, that's all people can comprehend is death. So, Jesus made it an important part because, look, if I can die and then come back, then there's life after death, and you have a spirit that goes on without a doubt. And if you have that faith of a mustard seed, just that faith of a mustard seed, you can discern all truth in your life. If not before the fact, during the fact. And if not during the fact, if you give every opportunity, being a person says they're a Christian and they follow Christ, giving them the opportunity of their mouth, you'll find out the truth in the future. And yes, everybody on this earth lets you down because of what they're governed by. They're governed by their senses. This is how we relate to the world. God gave us a body to relate to the world because we are in the world, unfortunately. Because there's a big question that was posed to God by Satan himself. Because Satan hates you. Satan hates you. Hates man. Hates that anything was created afterwards. Because there's a whole host of entities out there in the galaxies, and in the universe. Of course, there has to be. Because our God, the Father, is simply creator. He creates and he continues to create. Who are you to judge how he creates? You may one day be able to view the creation, but as far as how he creates, that's none of your knowledge, and you'll never, ever obtain that knowledge. You may have the power to create yourself, but these scientists that are trying to learn how to undo God, to become gods, to kill God, because that's what the devil wants to do. And he wants to use you to try to do it. And he doesn't care about you, period. That's obvious. These men on this earth that care about their senses more than they do the Father in heaven that made them and gave them life, breathed breath into them. You know, they're stuck in the middle, unfortunately. And they don't know really. But they do know evil and they do know tyranny. They do know oppression. Otherwise, they would not hide what they do from others. All these people that are in power above you continually take away your rights and leave you in a hopeless state of living. When it doesn't have to be this way. It's proven that over and over again in the history of man, that when we come together to try to solve any problem in this world, we do it. How do you think the pyramids were built? They were built by man, not aliens. All these civilizations that we're finding that happened in the past, they were built by man, not aliens. Even if we were given knowledge that is not ours, which I doubt very seriously we were, because when all we come together, it's obvious that we can overcome any situation and go anywhere we want. Who knows? All these aliens might be us out there in the world, but have been transformed by their environment because we are products of our environment. And that's obvious because if you stick an animal in a cage, he's going to be a real mistrusting animal. And he's not going to know how to act. Just like when you stick a person in a cage, you turn them into an animal. when you stab a person, they hurt. Then they become real mistrusting of their fellow man because they were allowed to get stabbed. And all the justices in the world cannot make that person comprehend how that was allowed whenever everybody has the same environment. But we made it to where there's classes of people. How is it that higher class people can get away with the murders that they're guilty of, the mass murders that they're guilty of, and be called higher class? To me, anybody that has more money and opportunity is a lower class individual anyways, because they had to step on everybody else in order to get that money or to keep that money or to keep that privilege. Or they don't care about how their forefathers got that money. Thing is, slavery is wrong, right? Because no man should be treated like an animal. No man should be able to work, forced to be worked without the gain of their work. But this is how society is set up. The hardest working people get paid the least amount of money. How is that possible? And anybody view it as right. Anybody. The Bible says the wisdom of the simple will confound the wisdom of the wise, because the wise are all puffed up in piety. And if you think piety is a good thing, you're very wrong. As a matter of fact, it is condemnable. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So I threw a walleye fit about this IV infusion, and I was preaching that to the whole world out there. And then when it came time, 12 o'clock, I went out there and talked to the nurse and said, what can I do about getting what I need before I leave here? Or, I told him, I'm sorry, I told him I was ready to leave. Seems how, if I can't get what I need here, I'm ready to leave anyways. So they said, well, hold on a minute. Just wait. And I said, no, man, I'm being charged. They said I was going to be charged for every minute that I stayed here, and that I had to pay up front, or else they were going to deny me any kind of service. Well, this angered me to the core, and I threw a fit before 12 o'clock, walleye fit, to where they had to remove the patients around me because I was so uh, loud, and they wanted to protect the patients. But the patients I was trying to protect by giving them the information of who was in charge of them and what they were doing. Thing is then the law was called again. And this time, a new officer was here, and she kept real quiet, and she had a vest on. Uh, uh, and I thought she was a security guard at first. And then I realized that she was police. And I apologized to her for thinking that she was a security guard. Well, she just kept her mouth shut the whole time and just watched what was going on. So I know she had the most authority of all of them, because control knows control, because control controls. Thing is I know every situation about who has the most power in the circle, because the most person in control has the most power, because they have the most to lose and the most to gain from being a controlled individual. And if you can control yourself, you know how they have to control themselves in order to get anything done right in this world. Anybody out of control is just a loose cannon in the world. And really, they need to be locked up because they're a danger to themselves and others. And this I know, man, I'm not stupid. And they can't get me out of the truth because the Lord has his hand upon my head all the time. I'm always seeking the truth in every situation. And I'm always asking for the right things and trying to do the right things in the situation. But whenever I'm forced with no options and made to feel hopeless, I can't help but get out of control because then somebody is causing me harm on purpose and then trying to make me to be the issue. Well, this lady come in here, RN, trying to calm things down in front of the police so that they could show in front of the police that I was out of control. But I wasn't out of control. I was out of control enough to make her read the rights that have been violated by me. And I sat here and I listened to them read my rights. And she kept on trying to refuse to read my rights that they have denied me ever since I've been here, and that they caused me physical harm. And the fact that I was able to stay in control while this lady read my rights and then picked one issue to try to argue with me about. Well, I argued with her twice about the subject. And I just combated the fact that, one of them was about any experimental help. Well, the fact of the matter is I've never been offered any experimental help. She said that there was no experimental help available to me in my situation. But I've never been proven my situation. And I've never been offered to know what's going on with me. So how do I know whether she's telling me the truth about any experimental products out there that might help me? Anyways, this fact I argue with her about, and then I just glazed it over. I just shut up and made her keep on reading. Well, I mean, just that fact, I'm sure, with that officer sitting there just watching my demeanor and everything else. And, I just sat there and listened to it and shaking my head at every point that was denied me. And I started reading all those things that were denied me. I don't know if I ever finished on the other video, but it's hard to make these videos and deal with the situation that I'm dealing with, just so you know. I mean, there's no excuses. And my memory ain't that great. I mean, I have to, with all I have to go through, the stress and the physical problems that I got, not to mention a bad memory to begin with. I mean, I've been through coma after coma. I've been through 3 different comas in my life. So I got some kind of brain damage, I'm sure. But the Lord has his hand upon my head. And thing is, I just attempted suicide. I took a whole prescription, and really more than a whole prescription, of trazodone at once. Because I knew what I was going to go through when I got my medication stolen from me by, well, I'm not going to name his name, by a friend, old friend of mine who has become my enemy because he's nothing but a drug addict, a little drug addict thief. I'm giving him every opportunity to change, to show that you can be a drug user and still not be a drug addict. Man, I've only been a drug addict once in my life, and that's whenever methamphetamines got a hold of me after I needed it in order to run a business on my own And granted, I've been disabled ever since I was 7 years old. I didn't file for disability until I was 21 because my mother was never informed that she needed to file for disability for me. She never looked to the future because she was a kid trying to raise kids. Man, she was never afforded the opportunities in life. And I love my mother. She did the best she could with everything she thought she had. She became very hopeless in life and very miserable. And it made me so sad, man, because I tried to show her, man, that you don't have to take things hopeless. Man, but I understand her hopelessness because I've been made to feel that way. I've been made to feel that way for a long, long time. I mean, I've been dealing with these wounds ever since Alan and Cheryl Cook tainted my needle back when I was using drugs in order to run a company. And Alan Cook was a guy that I would get to paint for me. That's all he wanted to do was paint. But I couldn't keep enough work for everybody to stay on board, so I had to use them whenever I needed them. Anyways, um, because I was just one man running a whole business, man, I couldn't find any good help. Everybody in that town was so hopeless that they were drug addicts. And I'm talking about Granbury, Texas. When Granbury, Texas was furloughing inmates out to cook methamphetamines, the sheriff's department was furloughing inmates out to cook methamphetamines. When I first moved in that town, my whole family was arrested. 6 months after I moved there, my whole family was arrested, and uh, they were arrested and charged with PI in their own home. That's all they were charged with. Everybody that was there. Thing is the sheriff threatened my dad, my stepdad at the time, threatened my mom, caused them a divorce, uh, and threatened the guy that was staying with us. I forget his name, and I'm sorry I forget it, but he was a vet and a good guy, man, real peaceful guy. Didn't believe in violence, man. He'd seen enough of it in the war. Anyways, um, he had this girlfriend, man, that was real belligerent and real selfish. Was uppity up, thought she was better than everybody else, and uh, anyways, she was a drunk, a lush. Uh, I don't know what he seen in her in the first place. I mean, thing is he was the same as me. I mean, he tries to find hope in everybody he comes across, and that's so hard to do in the world, especially when you're not from the world or of the world. Excuse me. I am from the world, and I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world. God made me. I haven't listened to any man or been educated by any man. I've been educated by the truth of life, period. And the truth of life these days finds me hopeless about the state of the world and the state of people, period. They refuse to listen to the truth whenever they hear it. And thing is, the truth is the only way you're going to hear God's voice and know it. Because are you going to know what my voice sounds like whenever, or your grandchildren going to know what my voice sound like? No. How could anybody think that they're going to know what Jesus' voice sounds like? They damn sure don't know what he looks like. How are they going to know what he sounds like? So you need to figure out how people are going to know his voice when they hear it. I mean, it's so Simple, man. And the truths are so evident, man. When you get over yourself and come to the Bible like you don't know nothing, like you are not in the world, man, or of the world, I mean. If you're not of the world and of man, then you can know that that Bible is true, or at least the truths in it. And that's all that matters are the truths in it. Man, the Lord wouldn't allow it to ever be sold, the most sold book in the world, if it didn't have everything in it that you need. I mean, people, come on. Man, you've allowed this world to be taken over by the evil one. And the evil one springs up in all of us. We all become antichrist at some time. But to continue to perpetuate the evil spirits in the world, because you are the vessel, the only vessel in which the demons can touch another person. I don't understand how you don't know that, man. That you can't figure it out. Come on, wake up, people. Wake up, please. Man, I don't want to be alone in heaven. Well, I'm never going to be alone in heaven because Jesus is there with me. You know what I mean? God is with me. And the people that I know along the way that really know the truth, understand the truth, live for the truth, they'll be with me too in heaven. The meek shall inherit the earth. I will come back to the earth if I'm meek. But I'm not meek. I am a warrior for Christ. I have a different position because of what I've been given and how I've been given it. Man, that's obvious. I wouldn't have been through everything I've been through if I didn't have that position. That doesn't make me better than anybody, and it damn sure don't make me worse than anybody. It just makes me different. And we all have a different job in this world because we all have a different life, different position, a different opportunity. The truth has given you opportunity in your life, but you fail to hold on to the truth that give you that opportunity. I'm guilty of it too. Believe me, but I refuse to continue to be guilty of it when the angel of light has stepped onto the stage. And if y'all don't know what time it is, man, you're going to miss the boat. Anyways, I just wanted to record this for the fact of what they done. They tried to give me and I'm pretty sure it's a placebo antibiotic, and they just gave that to me so that they could cover their butts because of the gross negligence that they've done to me, and the fact that the law was here, and there might be a report about it if they didn't do something. Anyways, because they did cause me undue harm, and they went against their oath to do it. Everybody that's ever dealt with me here, as far as an RN goes, or as far as a doctor goes, has done the same thing. And if the doctor that came see me uh, uh, just gave me a placebo, God help her soul, because I'm not going to end this. I'm not going to end it. I gave them an opportunity to end it, but they refused because they think that because they've gotten away with this over and over and over again for so long, that Medicare has their back, and that they have a foolproof system of killing people on purpose and then getting paid for it, that they can just do this to anybody and strong arm the people that are aware and are awake. The thing is ain't nobody come to them that knows the truth like I do. and has the faith that I do. Man, I don't care about death. That's obvious. I came in here uh, uh, after a suicide attempt, and I was honest about it, knowing what I was going to go through. Even though the suicide attempt was because I knew what was going to go, I was going to go through when my pain meds got stolen from me. Anyways, I'm gonna end this here because I don't want to. I'm sure I've done taxed your attention span. Thank you very much. This is Kenneth Geyer, Kenneth Ray Geyer, for that matter, in case they ever want to try to make me the shooter or uh, the demon in the world. God bless them with everything they deserve, good, bad, and indifferent. I love you. Bye.